Thank you, Commissioner. So we'll move to the questions. As always, I will ask you to introduce yourself and the media you work for before asking your questions. We'll start in the room and then we'll take a few questions online. We'll start with Zoya.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Zoya Sheptelovich from Politico. I wanted to ask you about whether Italy's concept of an immediate beginning of using these third-party deportation hubs has been discussed and whether ministers backed that idea. Is it something that the EU is going to be working full steam ahead on? Because I know that that was something going into the meeting the Italians wanted to discuss today.
You mean the return hubs? Yeah, the return hubs. The return hubs were, of course, mentioned by some member states, especially the ones who are preparing such returns hub or preparing the negotiations with third countries about the return hubs. Yes, Italy, Albania is a different project. That's the Italian project. But as you know, five member states, 6 member states now are working together to talk with third countries about return hubs. But what I wanted to stress is also, yes, let's focus on return hubs. That's legitimate, and that's a task of the member states to do it, the ones who want to do it. But also focus on the safe third country concept, which means that the asylum procedure can actually be done outside the European Union, where the safe third country concept allows for that. So yes, both return hubs, but also the asylum procedures outside the European Union were mentioned by some member states, yes.
Thank you. Sandro?
Sándor Zsíros from Euronews. First of all, you mentioned emergency financial aid for Spain. What's the amount? Where is the money coming from? And does this also cover potential humanitarian care as migrants are still remaining in Ceuta facing difficult conditions? And I would like to know also, how do you assess Italy's decision to temporarily suspend the Schengen free movement regime with Spain? Was this lawful according to you, since there was never a moment of threat of mass migration to Europe from Spain? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. First on the financial support which is available to Spain, we offered already over €1 billion for the period between 21 and 27 to Spain. Spain received an additional 114 million allocation through emergency assistance and union action. That's also in the programming between 21 and 2027. And this includes approximately 28 million to further reinforce reception, asylum and return systems in Ceuta. So this is especially used there. Spain, as you probably know, is also one of the member states identified as under migratory pressure under the first annual solidarity cycle and will therefore receive solidarity from the other member states as well. When it comes to the border controls, so the Schengen area. Well, first of all, you know that under the new Schengen border code, member states may exceptionally and also temporarily reintroduce internal border controls. That is in the Schengen border code, and some member states, as you know, have already taken that possibility. We were discussing that in the last weeks and months. If they have to address serious threats to public policy and internal security. So this is the case now, and now we are looking, of course, into it, whether the rules are, whether everyone sticks to the rules. This is also pretty obvious, but we have to, of course, look into that first.
Thank you. Take one more, Laura, then we'll move.
Thank you very much, Laura Dubois for the Financial Times. Commissioner, you mentioned leverage. How will you use your leverage against Morocco in this case? Our sources say this couldn't have happened without at least some tacit knowledge from the Moroccan authorities. So what is the next step here? Will you increase the budget support for Morocco on migration, or will you rather delay ongoing negotiations for a comprehensive partnership? Thank you.
No, the negotiations on the comprehensive partnerships are, of course, ongoing. And what I just wanted to say is that migration is, of course, also part of these negotiations. This is pretty clear, and this has been like that in the last months, actually, and will be in the next months to come. So nothing has changed there. We know that there was interference from the smugglers and the human traffickers. We know that on social media, so misinformation altogether. But this has nothing to do with our negotiations with Morocco.
Thank you. Here in the middle.
Johannes Perterer, ORF, Austrian National Television. Commissioner, just to follow up on that, do you think that Morocco has any responsibility whatsoever for what happened, and if so, to what extent?
Well, what we know is that, and what we saw, that there was an instrumentalization by human traffickers and smugglers. That's for sure. Grande Malaska, the minister, has repeated today the important role that Morocco actually played in making sure that the situation in Ceuta is under control. And we know, and we talked about the numbers, of course, also. And this is exactly why we engage with partner countries and third countries. So I also understand that there is an ongoing investigation of the matter in Spain. So I can't actually comment on that any further. But there was, of course, some disinformation by the smugglers and the human traffickers. That's what we know for sure.
Thank you. We'll take Jennifer.
Thank you. Jennifer Rankin, The Guardian. Commissioner, back to return hubs. Do you think there should be EU funding for return hubs? As we understand, Italy would like, and several member states have already called for it ahead of the European Council in June.
That's actually a question of the negotiations for the next MFF. I think that's the way to go forward. As I've said many times, we created the legal framework now for return hubs, also in the return regulations, also for these centres, and remain open, of course, for any proposal. Our priority is to work with partners along the route on different concepts, also having asylum applications outside the European Union, as I mentioned before. And looking ahead, when it comes to financing, of course, the discussions on the next MFF will provide, I think, the right context, how to support and how support for third country actions altogether can be best structured within the EU's, I would say, broader migration partnerships.
Thank you. We'll take a few questions tonight, and I come back in the room after. I take the questions from Gabriele.
Merci, Guillaume. Commissioner, apologies. I have to follow up on the question about Italy and Schengen because, the Commission got the notification, and you said yourself that Schengen area has not been affected, quoting the Spanish minister, but Italy nonetheless on Friday suspended Schengen. And let's recall geography, Italy doesn't share any territorial border with Spain. So I think you normally assess these policies, whether they are necessary and proportionate. I would like to ask you if you consider them to be necessary and proportionate already 4 days into the measure being applied. And the second one, you referred to the talks ongoing with third countries with respect to return hubs, led by 6 countries that are interested in having this joint hubs. What's the role that the Commission has to play there? Any kind of supportive role besides funding? We heard your answer. What other role are you keen and able to play there? Thank you.
Well, starting with the second question, our role, as I said before, is to give the legal basis. That's what we did with our return regulation. And then, of course, also, I mean, I support it, of course. I sometimes take part as a listener in these meetings of the member states. But it's up to the member states, of course, that's in the regulation to do it. But if a member state or member states, a group of member states, want to go this way forward, we totally support it. That's why we set the legal basis. On the Schengen question, again, as you said, it's an assessment we have to do. Yes, it has to be proportionate. It has to be temporary, of course, and that's the way we go forward. We look into that. The situation, of course, has also evolved. I would say a little bit in the last days. There is more clarity now. The Spanish government has confirmed that people have returned to Morocco. That was not the case that much when Italy sort of put forward their thoughts. And now there can be no onward movements anymore. So we will see. It's an assessment, yeah.
Thank you. We'll take another question online from Alexandra.
Thank you for the opportunity. Do you hear?
I just wanted to add one sentence because I understand. I have some understanding for this reaction of the Italians also, because the people are concerned. The citizens of Europe are concerned, and that's why we have this possibility in the Schengen border code also. So we really have to look into that and look into the details. But of course, I do understand that with the images we saw, the citizens of Europe, of course, were concerned, and that's why some member states sent a letter. That's what was one thing, and took this possibility.
Good. So we go back to Alexandra. Sorry.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Do you hear me well? Commissioner, you reiterated that one of the lessons learned is the need for a full implementation of the Migration and Asylum Pact. However, the Greek Prime Minister argues today in an op-ed that the Pact itself is not designed for situations like Ceuta and proposes a new emergency regime. So does the Commission believe that the Pact already allows for this kind of flexibility, or does it fundamentally rule out such measure, and whether you will assess such a proposal made today by the Greek Prime Minister? Thank you so much.
Well, as we discussed today, it's about the full implementation of the Pact. This is really key. The Pact does offer solutions for this. However, this is, of course, a new situation, and we always have to reconsider everything we're doing, and we have to sort of look into everything we're doing. That's why we have reports. That's why we look into all the measures we are proposing. But the Pact is clear, and I think that's also for the European Council in October to discuss it in a strategic way forward. So this is actually what the way forward, I think, should be, preparing for the European Council in October, where they have a strategic discussion on migration, supported also on the Eastern European border. And we will, of course, prepare for that, because having a strategic discussion on the way forward, I think, is always a good thing to do.
Sure.
Hi there, Michael Greenfield, Sky News. Two questions, if I may. Migrants told a Sky News crew in Ceuta on Saturday that Moroccan authorities had let everyone through. What is your assessment of these claims? And then secondly, just today, we've heard that a dinghy carrying 157 migrants capsized after catching fire in the Channel. What is your understanding of the trend of increasing numbers of migrants packing onto just one boat?
I didn't get the second channel. The English channel. Yeah.
Second question. Just today we've heard that a dinghy carrying 157 migrants capsized after catching fire in the Channel. What is your understanding of the trend of increasing numbers of migrants packing onto just one boat?
Well, okay. Now I got the second question, and this is exactly what we say. We have to fight against the migrant smugglers and the human traffickers. This is just not acceptable what they are doing. And my assessment is that that's just, as I said, not acceptable. What happens on these boats, and especially the point that smugglers and human traffickers are actually exploiting the life of human beings is not acceptable, and that's what we have to fight against. Fight against the smugglers, fight against the human traffickers. We do that on different levels, as I said before, our global alliance, but also other points. The first part of the question was, what was that? Sorry again.
Please repeat. You want me to repeat? It was migrants told a Sky News crew in Ceuta that the authorities had let everyone through. Just, what your assessment of that is, please.
Well, as I said before, the cooperation with Morocco was, according to the Spanish authorities and the Spanish minister, was very good, especially on the returns. But as I said before, Spain is looking into it and looking into the lessons learned also and what happened exactly. I can come back to you when we have this from the Spanish government.
Here. No, behind you. Sorry, was behind you.
Hi, Olga Rodriguez from Spanish radio COPE. Commissioner, you said that the Italian measure was adopted because people were concerned. About what concretely were people concerned if there are already different controls in Ceuta for entering Schengen? And also, has the Commission identified any of the smuggling networks or the people behind these information posts on social media? Thank you.
Well, I think when these measures by Italy were discussed, we were in a different situation. As I said before, the situation has evolved in the last days, and it wasn't clear what is happening actually. So that's a different. Now things have evolved, and now we know that people have returned. That's good news. That we have control over what happened there at our external European border. And the second part was wrong. What was the second part? I should have written it down.
I asked if these smuggling networks or any people posting on social media were identified by the Commission.
No, not yet, but Europol, and I can't talk too much about it because Europol is together with the Spanish authorities, of course, looking into that, and if we have a result, we'll let you know.
We had an attempt. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. The deals that you have with third countries to hold people back, these are a key part of the strategy to control irregular migration. But given that we have seen in the past that some of these countries weaponize migration when there's some kind of a disagreement, is it time to rethink that strategy? And also, could you tell us a little bit about what Spain has said about the remaining migrants in Ceuta, specifically the ones from sub-Saharan Africa, who have told our network, DW News, for example, that they intend to stay, they're not returning to Morocco, and that they want to apply for asylum?
First of all, we do have more leverage now against or in our negotiations with third country. You know, we have our new visa policy strategy, where we have different points, especially on the visa point, of course. The visa 25A procedure is there, so we can actually put sanctions also on countries which do not cooperate. We did that on different countries like Ethiopia, for instance, and it worked in the end. We did it on Somalia as well in the last weeks, very quickly, actually. So yes, we always rethink and reconsider our policy and our strategies. I think that's what we have to do, and especially on the visa part, with our new visa policy strategy, we are exactly going into that. What happens? What about the people remaining in Spain? Of course, this is the responsibility, of course, of Spain to ensure no one crosses into the European Union. That's one thing, and this is what Minister Grande Marlaska also today confirmed in his statement. He had two statements today. This, I think, is first and foremost what the member states also expect, of course, from Spain. And as I said, Minister Grande Marlaska has confirmed that. We are, as a Commission, we are, of course, ready to support both Spain and Morocco, and we are in ongoing discussions on the support we can actually offer to Spain. We are always ready to support and help. By the way, all member states also agreed on the support and reiterated their support to Spain to come over this crisis. It was a crisis, but now, fortunately, it has been resolved. In general, I think we need to strengthen our efforts of strengthen our cooperation also with our partner countries. I think that is really key. But this is a more general view on that. But yes, we are ready to support Spain, of course, further.
Thank you, Magnus.
Thank you, Magnus, with Euractiv. With the risk of this becoming slightly repetitive, but I'm going to have to double down on some of the good questions colleagues have asked, because you frankly haven't answered it yet. In terms of Morocco's involvement in this, we've now heard you say that migrant smuggling networks probably played a big role in the things leading up to this, proceedings leading up to this, and then Moroccan authorities have been very good, as you said, especially on returns. Our question is, to what extent was Moroccan authorities involved before the migrants seized on Ceuta? Thank you.
Well, as I said before, and also sorry to repeat myself, is that this is part of our assessment, of course. And I said in the beginning, Spain especially looks into this, and the ongoing investigations in Spain are there of the matter. So I can't go into details there. Sorry, I can't say more on that. We have to wait for the outcome of the investigation.
I have a lot of questions as well online, so we'll take the question from Sam.
Hi.
Sam.
All right. Through emergency meeting with the EU ministers, I think the light that the EU has recorded more than 2,000 fake articles.
Sam, sorry, we cannot hear you. Your sound is not good. Could you fix your connection? We'll come back to you. Do we have another question here, please? Yeah.
Hello, Manuel Gomez, Spanish newspaper El País. Well, I'd like to ask about the regularization of migrants. In the recent days, 22 countries have criticized Spain for this. I wanted to ask you if Spain has faced any criticism in the meeting for this regularization, and if you have any evidence about the link between this measure and the events of Ceuta. And I'd like to ask about why the reaction of the Commission has been different this time from the other events in the past, like the eastern border in 22 or Lampedusa, when the President of the Commission traveled there. Thanks.
On the regularization part, there was no real criticism because we can't see a direct link at the moment between the regularization and the incidents in Ceuta. But I always say to this regularization discussion, it's not a good signal. Definitely not. It's not a good signal for the rest of Europe. I do understand, and it's a member state's competence, and I do understand that Spain did it because it's mainly about Latin Americans speaking the same language, having the same culture. But the signal for the rest of Europe is not a good one, definitely not. So that's it, but it wasn't discussed this morning.
Okay, and we have time for one last question. I go back online to Sam to see whether this works. Do you want to add?
I don't see a difference, actually. We reacted very quickly, very firmly also, and we have better rules in place and a better system. Now we have a system which we didn't have some years ago. This is a complete different situation now, because we, as I said before, Morocco is a safe third country. A safe country of origin. And that completely makes the difference also for returns then, for being able to return people. So the situation is different, but our reaction was very clear and very swift also. We had from the very beginning very good contacts with the Spanish authorities, in my case, with Minister Grande Malasca, and the President, of course, also with Prime Minister Sanchez right away. And also on a technical level, our Director General with the authorities in Spain, with our agencies also there. So there was a swift response there as well. So, but the situation is different because now we have the rules. This makes a big difference.
Okay. We'll try with Sam last time and then we'll conclude.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Thanks for the patience, everybody, and the opportunity to ask a question. During the extraordinary meeting of ministers, it came to light that the EU has recorded more than 2,000 fake articles and over 6,000 fake social media posts from Russian actors concerning the situation in Ceuta. And I'd like to follow up on that. You've mentioned disinformation quite a few times without getting into any specifics. The EEAS has a disinfo unit, as well as the Commission. What kind of articles and on which platforms was this posted and detected, and how is it possible to identify them as linked to Russia?
Well, I think, as you said, it's a bit, I think, too early, because there was instrumentalization. I mentioned the smugglers and the human traffickers, and now, of course, it's also up to the EAS, as you said, to look, and Europol also, to look into these details, who the intruders were. Was it Russia, as you mentioned, or was it human traffickers and smugglers? We know it from the human traffickers and smugglers already, but the rest, please wait for a real assessment there.
Thank you. This concludes our press conference. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.